Welcome back, everybody. You know how much I love a good, creepy story?
Oh, yeah?
And today's deep dive is one that, well, kind of stuck with me.
Oh.
It's a story about a pregnant woman named Rudra, and, well, it involves some, mysterious events. Let's just say that.
Sounds interesting already.
It is, it is. And, the text that this story comes from was originally written in Malayalam.
Yeah.
So, yeah, get ready for something a little bit different, right?
Definitely. I always love how these deep dives bring us stories from all over the world.
Me too, me too. So, Rudra, right? She's pregnant and she's staying with some relatives. But get this.
Yeah.
She's completely alone in this new place. Like, she doesn't know anybody there.
Oh, wow. So she's already in a vulnerable position.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's part of what makes the story so unsettling, just that feeling of being isolated, pregnant, and surrounded by strangers.
Right, right. I mean, think about it. You're carrying a child, hormones are all over the place, and you're in a new environment where you don't have your usual support system.
Yeah, absolutely. So one day, Rudra's just kind of looking out the window, just passing the time. And suddenly this little girl appears.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. And the text describes her as being incredibly beautiful, almost like ethereal. It's not just a random detail, I don't think. It felt like the author was really trying to emphasize something there.
Yeah, I agree. That description of the girl's beauty, it's almost like she's not quite human, Like she doesn't belong in this world.
Yes, exactly. And there's this other detail that really stuck with me. The way the girl stares at Rudra.
Oh, that's creepy.
Right? It's super intense, almost like she's trying to communicate something, but Rudra has no idea what it is.
I bet that was unnerving.
Oh, totally. And then, just as suddenly as she appeared, the girl vanishes. Rudra looks away for a second, and poof, gone. No trace.
So mysterious.
Right. And of course, Rudra tries to find her the next day, asks around, but nobody has seen this little girl.
Oh, man, that would freak me out.
Totally. And then, this is where things get really, really weird. Rudra learns that a young girl in the neighborhood had actually, she took her own life just a few days before Rudra saw this mysterious girl at the window.
Oh, wow. So now we're getting into some potentially supernatural territory.
Right. I mean, you have to wonder, did Rudra actually see a ghost? Or was it just, like, her imagination playing tricks on her because of everything else that was going on?
It's hard to say, right? But, in a lot of cultures, especially in India, there's this strong belief that the spirits of those who die by suicide, they can linger.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And sometimes these spirits, they might try to connect with the living. Sometimes they're looking for help, or sometimes they're trying to, I don't know, maybe warn someone about something.
That's a bit spooky.
It is, but it's also fascinating, right? Because it makes you think about what happens after we die and if there's any way for us to communicate with those who have passed on.
I know, it's deep stuff.
So, with Rudra's encounter, it's like, was this girl trying to reach out to Rudra specifically? Was there something she wanted to tell her?
Especially considering how vulnerable Rudra was at the time, being pregnant and all.
Exactly. It makes you wonder if maybe the spirit was drawn to Rudra because of her, her expectant state. Maybe she felt some kind of connection there.
Yeah, and that brings us to the next part of the story. Because after this encounter, Rudra is understandably freaked out.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. She decides to go back home as soon as she can.
Makes sense. Got to get back to familiar surroundings.
Exactly.
Right.
But even back home, she can't shake this experience. It really stays with her. And then she gives birth to a son.
Okay, so we have the baby. What happens next?
Well, as her son starts to grow, they discover that he has some vision problems.
Oh, no, that's awful.
It is. And it's kind of left up to the reader to decide if they think there's a connection between the encounter with the girl and the son's vision problems.
I mean, you can't help but wonder, right?
And I think it's implied that Rudra herself believes that there's a connection. Like, this terrifying experience she had while pregnant somehow affected her son.
That's a really powerful idea. And it really speaks to the anxieties that a lot of expectant mothers have, Like, what if something I do or something that happens to me will harm my child?
Absolutely. And the story doesn't really give us any answers, which I think makes it even more unsettling.
Right, like we don't know for sure why this girl appeared to Rudra or what she wanted. We don't know for sure if there's a connection to the son's health problems. It's all just left open for us to interpret.
And that's kind of the beauty of it, I think. It makes you think, and it stays with you long after you finish reading it.
I agree. It's a story that gets under your skin.
So to recap, we have Rudra, alone and pregnant. She encounters this mysterious girl who, as it turns out, is dead, and then later her son is born with vision problems. all very mysterious.
It is. And it really makes you think about all the things we don't understand about life and death and the possibility of, other worlds or other realms.
Exactly, exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to this one question. If this girl could somehow communicate with Rudra, what would she say? What message would she try to convey?
Wow, that's a really haunting question to end on.
It is, isn't it? It really highlights how this story is about so much more than just ghosts or the supernatural. It's about fear and vulnerability and the unknown. But hey, that's what we love about these deep dives, right?
Absolutely. Always leaves you thinking.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See ya!